Hello, everyone, and welcome to ReelQuick, episode 131. Today, we have the last ever publicly available movie review on ReelQuick Fridays. It's becoming a thing for just patrons going forward. We made the change that now every single patron, no matter what tier you are going to be able to see these exclusive episodes. We're still going to be posting them every Friday at the same exact time, but they're going to be going on Patreon. And we're also going to be creating a separate Spotify podcast page that's just like the ReelTok Patreon page, which is where you can listen via audio, but we'll also upload it to video there as well. So Spotify and Patreon are where you're going to find on Fridays the ReelQuick movie reviews going forward. But today, for the last one, we have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, recommended by Reese David. And just a little teaser, next week, like I said, will be Patreon exclusive, but it's going to be Terminator 2 Judgment Day. So that's just a banger of a review to start out the Patreon exclusive reviews. So go to the description down below, check out the Patreon, and we will see you over there. But let's dive into Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. This is the second movie. So the Planet of the Apes is there's several franchises like this where there's just so many different iterations. Like there's a lot of that with like Godzilla where there's kind of different like eras. This is like the second of the quadrilogy, I guess, once the new one comes out this year.
Is that technically part of it? Is it? Maybe it is. Actually.
It's like Caesar's great grandson or something. It's like the guy in it.
I thought this would be like another trilogy kind of thing. I don't know if they're expanding.
That's just kind of adds to my point of how weird like this franchise is to kind of keep track of. But whatever, there's a trilogy existing right now of kind of this new era of Planet of the Apes. This is the second in that trilogy, but the first Matt Reeves directed. But yeah, so Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. The synopsis for the film, pulling it up right now, came out in 2014. This is a rewatch for me. A group of scientists in San Francisco struggle to stay alive in the aftermath of a plague that is wiping out humanity, while Caesar tries to maintain dominance over his community of intelligent apes. This happens not a crazy long after the rise of the Planet of the Apes, but there's been time past. Most of the cast is completely different. There's no James Franco in this one. And Caesar's kind of gone from starting his army of apes to, now they're well-oiled machine. The landscape of Earth has changed drastically. And yeah, let's just go ahead and dive right into it. So I said there's a rewatch for me. Cam has logged it as a 4.5 star. He's not here today. Obviously, if you're listening to the audio, Cam is not with us today. He's said he has like some like double shifts at work all week, and we had to film this not on the weekend. We're filming this the day before we're uploading it. But I'll kick it off over to Seth first. Your thoughts on Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Also, if this was a first-time watch or rewatch, or how many times you've seen it, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, I watched. I used to be really into Planet of the Apes films, like a few years ago. My favorite Planet of the Apes film is the original, like the first ever one. I think it's 1968. That's one of my dad's favorite films, and I remember watching the trilogy when they came out with him. The last time I watched all of them, well, other than this one, was probably about a year ago. I went through them again because I hadn't seen them in a few years, and I think the difference of the difference in quality from, is it Rise, the first one, Rise of the Planet, yeah, and then it's War, then it's
Rise,
War, yeah. So I think the difference in quality from Rise to this one is like substantial, substantial in my opinion. Obviously, again, like Tyler said, it's the first one that Matt Reeves directed, the first one he came in, and I think that's kind of evident as well. I think it's a really, really good film. A good tension of like a political power struggle between man and ape. And also this one really goes into kind of the rise of the apes and the fall of humans as well. And I think it's just so fascinating to see kind of the apes like interact with each other and to see name
Caesar,
obviously, yeah. Caesar, yeah, and Koba as well, especially. Have these kind of interchangeable with obviously probably the best villain in the whole series to me, including the original. Actually, I think it's great, and obviously everyone goes on about the motion capture and CGI, whatever, but it really is that good. It really is incredible. Kind of rewatching it now, I kind of forgot just how good it was. I think is it Michael Giacchino on the score? Same guy who did the Batman. Does he do all three?
I think it's a really good guess.
Yeah, so I don't think it's a guess. I think I know that, but
yeah, I'm fact checking. Score for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Michael Giacchino, correct.
See that? Wow. Knowledge.
Good pull.
Yeah, score amazing. And I think it's just a really good split between the two. Some good political commentary in there as well, which we come to expect from good Planet of the Apes films. But I think the main thing that I realized is just how much more I like them, Dawn than Rise. And I think this kind of improves it tenfold within the story. I think the first one was a little bit complicated and a bit confused where it wanted to go. I don't think it portrayed the apes that well in terms of their rise. But yeah, really, really good film. I think I give it. I actually rated it. I haven't looked it back again yet. I think I'm going to stay where I already had it, so like a 4. Really, really good, great film. Definitely a big step up from the first of the trilogy, and yeah, really good.
George,
I mean, pretty much the same thoughts as Seth. I'm slightly higher. This was a rewatch for me. A rewatch that I feel like I go back to one of these movies like every other month, where I'm just like one night I'm not sure what I want to watch, and it'll just pop across my streaming service. But no, I love it. I completely agree with Seth that it is tonally, and I think it's just very drastically a different movie from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. But I think that benefits this movie. Rise of the Planet of the Apes dives very deep into kind of the Alzheimer's of this situation, and how, you know, this is the downfall of humanity. Dawn, I like that we're kind of years down the line, and it's become a post-apocalyptic world where there is this power struggle, like Seth said, between humans and apes. But what this movie does so well in my mind is it's not only a power struggle between humans and apes, there's a power struggle within the apes. There's a power struggle within the humans. There's so many different conflicts going on, and Reeves just balances all of this so well, and it just makes it such an engaging experience.
It's weird as well, because I agree. It's like he balances so much, but it's not like that long a film. Is it like 2 hours, maybe?
Yeah, it's a little over 2 hours. I think it clocks in at like 2:15 or 2:20. But yeah, it's not. Most films that try to pack this much into, and it's not even a short runtime. You know, anything above 2 hours, I think is a fairly good runtime.
2:10. It's pretty short.
So decent
for a blockbuster,
size
you know?
movie. Yeah, for a blockbuster sort of especially. But yeah, we pack a lot into a relatively shorter runtime, which I just think makes this film even more impressive. I think Caesar is one of the best characters in fiction, period. I absolutely love him. I love his balance between the humans and the apes, his conflict of being loyal to his ape brothers and sisters while also trying to avoid a war with the humans. And obviously, the character of Koba is kind of like the antithesis of that, where he wants to be loyal to his ape brothers and sisters, but he wants to do it in a different way. He wants to do it in a way that is going to hurt the humans, because he thinks that is what's going to protect the apes. So I think that conflict between Koba and Caesar is just a lot of fun to watch. It's heartbreaking at times, especially in the end. I'm sure we'll get into spoilers. But yeah, I love this movie. I love the world building that Matt Reeves did with this one, and this post-apocalyptic landscape. The production design is crazy. Jason Clarke, Gary Oldman, Andy Serkis, everyone just goes stupid in this movie. I love that. You know, it kind of. I wish we were reviewing kind of the trilogy as a whole too, because I'd love to talk about War as well. But I like that this one kind of sets the stage for War in a sense, where like it feels like this particular story wraps up, but it also feels like
something's going to happen.
Yeah, something is inbound.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is a 4.5 out of 5 for me. So is War. I know this is like one of those joking trilogies we talk about where it's like, oh, so many people have called it underrated. It's become overrated at this point. But I think it's a properly rated trilogy. Everyone knows just how good it is. Quite possibly in my top 10 trilogies of all time. Yeah, love this movie.
Yeah, I think we talked recently about creating a schedule for all our upcoming Real Talks. And I mean, with Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes coming out, you know, or beginning of summer, I mean, this could just be a teaser for people listening to this real quick, that maybe we got to do not just the trilogy, but, you know, just do a deep dive on Planet of the Apes or something. The from the OGs all the way to leading.
I'm not watching Tim Burton's again. I can't be doing it.
Well, I feel like at the very least we should do the trilogy. We'll talk the trilogy and then also talk like the original, because I feel like
the original's great. Yeah.
But I mean, this movie, like Seth was saying, is just such a step up from Rise of the Planet of the Apes. Although I'd never seen Rise of the Planet of the Apes, and I just felt like naturally, you know, before I watched this, because I have seen this before I rewatched, let's go ahead and watch Rise of the Planet of the Apes. And that's even a movie that's still like, when it came out and based on the time period 2011. When I watched it, I was like, okay, the CGI is like really good. Like I think visually it looks pretty good. And then you go to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, it's just a whole different beast. Like it just takes everything up.
I wonder what the budget difference was between the two, actually. I'll check. Carry on speaking. I might check.
Yeah, go for it. I'd be interested to see that too, because I feel like these films are things that are going to make money no matter who's behind the lens. I mean, the Planet of the Apes movies. It's one of the longest franchises we've had in terms of IP, so they're always going to make money and do well. But I think Matt Reeves really brought an extra layer here by making the visuals so incredible. Some things they did differently for this as opposed to Rise was they filmed all the motion capture work actually outside in the elements as opposed to just on a sound stage, so that can add just another element of realism. Even though Andy Serkis in an interview was saying like they were all just disgustingly sweaty and gross the whole time trying to film all this.
Yeah.
But I just think Matt Reeves, through not only the CGI improvements of visual effects, the cinematography and just the direction he had behind the lens really is shown in this movie. And when I was researching it, he actually rewrote the entire screenplay. So the screenplay for this movie was written, then they hired him on, and he was like, and it's supposed to be way further in the future. And he said he wanted to explore more of Caesar's story and basically asked the studio, like, hey, can I, if I promise you to get the release date the same you have it before, can I rewrite this entire script? And we'll just start from what my vision is. And which is crazy because this never happens in Hollywood. They said yes. So they gave him what he wanted. And it turned out to be this, and then probably carried on to his vision for War of the Planet of the Apes. So Matt Reeves, I think, like I said, he didn't save this franchise because I think they're going to make money no matter what.
Yeah,
but
of course.
We talk about it being, one of the great trilogies of all time. And I don't think it ever would have got there without Matt Reeves joining.
Have a guess, both of you, what the budget for the first one was and the budget for the second one.
Ooh.
40 million on the first one, 110 on the second.
I'm going to guess low. 90 on the first, 200 on the second.
Oh, 90 on the first, 170 on the second. So there was like a pretty substantial, 80 million jump between the two, which is evident. Like in the film, it's evident with
see that in the production design alone.
Absolutely, yeah. I think the just scale of it is so much bigger. I think they kind of, they did that film. I'm assuming the first one made money, made some Planet of the Apes film, so you'd assume so. And you can really tell the difference in scale, production, specifically the motion capture and CGI as well. They really took it to a whole new level. To be honest, it'd be cool if they re-released them, in like cinemas before the new one comes out. But obviously they won't. But yeah, I think definitely we should do like an episode going through them. I think that'd be really, really fun.
Let us know.
I need someone to clip up throughout our podcast history. Clip up how many times one of us has said, like, I need this to be re-released in theaters, because I feel like one of us says that about a movie every episode.
Yeah, probably a lot, to be fair.
I mean, the theaters right now are just full of shite. I know the UK is a little different because they're getting a lot of stuff we got in like November. So like UK has some pretty good movies right now. But in general, theaters right now could use like the Tenet re-releases of the world. Like re-release these blockbusters. Let us see them. We have nothing in the IMAX screens until Dune, anyways. But like for these movies, I feel like this movie also felt a lot more serious than Rise of the Planet of the Apes. I mean, at the end of the day, apes taking over the world is like a silly concept, but the first one, there were so many things. Like Draco Malfoy was kind of just over the top. Like, I mean, I just call him Draco Malfoy. What's his name?
Is pretty much Draco. That's the only other role he's got
about.
Yeah, what's even his name?
Tom Felton.
Yeah, he's just so over the top, cruel. Which, like, I think obviously there's a lot of stuff to speak about, both the environment in these movies, about animal cruelty, about human relationships, about medicine and scientific research. But I feel like in the first one, they were just so non-subtle with the messaging, where they made Tom Felton like the most abhorrently awful person on the planet to these apes, that you're like, okay, we get it. Like, we get the messaging you're trying to do. Whereas I feel like this took a much more subtle approach that ended up working out in the long run. And then also the first one, the way it ended with the bridge shootout scene in Rise of the Planet of the Apes. It's like like I was watching that scene, like, it was just so stupid. Like there's so many better ways you could do this than just by going to one bridge and just sending military men in on horses. Like, what are you doing here? Like, calling like a freaking F-16 Air Force strike or something. What's going on? So you kind of got what was coming to you, but then you get to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and the whole vibe is just different. So I'll turn on the spoiler banner just so we can kind of open up the discussion and talk about whatever. But
I believe the writers actually were different, if I'm not mistaken. There definitely is a massive turn. I think is like, again, we say, Planet of the Apes as a franchise, the themes are obvious. You got race prejudice, you got the environment, you got, it's obvious what you're trying to portray. But it is, especially in the first one, from what I remember anyway, it kind of lacks that subtlety that I think the second one has, as much you can have within a Planet of the Apes franchise, but it also does it so I just felt more emotionally invested in 2 and 3 as well. With the new characters in place, and also with the cast, and the cast just took a cast along with everything else. The production and the scale just took a massive upgrade. I think they are different writers as well, which is kind of makes sense looking at it.
I think like literally everything is different except just the story, because like obviously the cast Caesar's back, but James
Yeah.
Franco is killed off, quote unquote, off screen. Like we don't really ever see him again, and we just assume he's died and gone, and we're on to new things at this point. But I feel like the big spoiler thing to talk about is obviously the final sequence between Koba and Caesar, as Caesar gets earlier or about midway through the film, he gets gravely wounded to the point where they all thought he died, and they're like, okay, who's going to be the new leader and step up? Koba obviously had no issue taking that mantle immediately and say, you're all listening to me now. And then we find out, Caesar's okay. He gets patched up. He's all good. And then it leads to the final confrontation between him and Koba, where he goes back to his squad and he's like, yeah, man, you're not the leader of this. We got to settle some stuff out here. But that scene was crazy to me. Like Koba being just such a little priss, being like, apes don't kill. And Caesar's like, shut the fuck up, dude. And just drops him out. He's like, I've seen you. I've heard the stories, man. I know you've been killing people left and right. Apes don't kill my ass.
Biggest hypocrite in the franchise. It's crazy.
But like you're saying, he is such a good villain, though. He's so menacing. The design of him with that scar too, like he's so good.
It's so good. He kind of has this just this presence every time he's on the screen. Just this prowess, this intimidating factor. And I think the design, like you said, is just so good as well. Who plays him? I'm intrigued about that. I can't actually remember who actually.
I wonder if it's anyone, because it's not Andy Serkis, but I wonder if it's anyone of note. Probably not. Probably just some motion cap guy.
But I think it's like a mockery of his brutality that he showed throughout the films at the end. Like he's just the biggest hypocrite in the fucking thing. And I agree. I think looking back at him specifically as a villain, I think he works perfectly for the ape conflict as well as the human, and kind of is that antithesis, like George said, and he's such a needed point in the films that really make it so much better. It is.
I got it pulled up. It's this guy. Share screen. Toby Kebbell. He's from the Entire History of You Black Mirror episode.
He's also in George. What else is he in? I'm asking you. I'm asking you, George, because there's a film you really like that he's in.
Really?
Yeah. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, I recognize him from the Black Mirror episode.
No, he's in A Monster Calls. He's like the when he meets the dad.
Oh my god!
Is his dad or his brother? Whatever.
He's the dad.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay.
Yeah, they get legit people, I guess, to do all the motion caps, because Andy Serkis gets talked about to no end, but got real actors behind all of them, which I think just again adds to just the subtlety and the craft behind this and how delicately and how much care was put into this. Because I was researching this other thing before too, and it's like the difference between Caesar and the other apes is it's obvious. He's talking a lot more fluently than them. He's walking more upright. But even in the subtle details, like there's a scene where they're going on the subway and Caesar goes through the turnstiles, whereas all the other apes jumps over him. It's like so many subtle little hints to the fact that he was raised by humans. These are all other just wild apes. So just those small things, I feel like it's just kind of shows why this movie is so good. Because I think everything from the small details to the great details were handled well. Whereas I feel like the first one was a fun movie. I had a great time with Rise of the Planet of the Apes for what it was. Gave it like a 3-star or something, just because I feel like, it was missing that extra pizzazz and missing that extra level of detail that I feel like Matt Reeves brought to this franchise. And then, Tom Felton and James Franco leaving and getting Gary Oldman and Jason Clarke and the entire cast, it's a massive upgrade every way you look at it.
You've seen World War Z with Brad Pitt, right? You know how at the beginning of that movie, there's it's probably like a 5-minute montage of like the outbreak and how the world kind of collapsed. That's what the entire movie, that's what the entire Rise of the Planet of the Apes feels like. It feels like an entire movie dedicated to, the intricacies of like how society collapsed, how this happened when, a movie like World War Z did it in 5 minutes as a montage at the beginning. And then they kind of jumped into what would have been Dawn of the Planet of the Apes almost immediately, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But when you compare it to Dawn, it does. I don't think it holds up as well. I think I still rated a 3.5 or a 4. I still think it's a very good movie, but now you're comparing it to Dawn, which is just not only a technical marvel, but also from like a storytelling perspective, probably way better than anyone thought a Planet of the Apes movie it would ever be.
How dare you? How dare you?
I've never seen the other.
My bag is so
not. I've seen the first one.
I've only seen 2 movies ever. It's Dawn and Rise. And Rise was the first time watching this. Dawn was the second time.
You haven't seen War?
No, I haven't seen War yet. So I got to dive
in. That's the one. I told you not to watch War with Riley.
Oh yeah, but
She didn't watch Dawn with me either. She only stuck with Rise.
Anna doesn't want to watch the Planet of the Apes films ever. I kind of get it, to be honest. War. I actually like War a lot. I think Dawn for me is the best of the three.
Agreed.
But War is still a big step up in quality for me from one. Again, I think it really continues the consistency, and I think it really the scale on that one is crazy. Yeah, I'd be keen to see your thoughts on War. I mean, like in terms of the original ones, there's actually loads of them I haven't seen. I forgot how many films there actually is.
There's a lot.
I've only seen like I think 3 of the old ones, but there's like a lot of them. There's a couple of good sequels, but there's a lot you just don't need to watch. Like Burton's one with like Helena Bonham Carter and like I think it's like Mark Wahlberg or something. That's just fucking. It's weird. It's very odd. But the original one, I truly believe is like fantastic. Really great. But yeah, I'd be keen to see your opinion on War, Tyler. Just like George said, don't watch it with Riley because it's not fun.
Yeah, if you're not keen on Rise of the Planet of the Apes, it probably just only gets worse from there in terms of like the things that might turn you off to it.
Yeah,
but
I get it. To be fair, I definitely get it.
Yeah. But no, I guess I didn't mention my score. I give this a 4-star because I have my score hidden. Because I saw this back when it was released in theaters, and I remember I was with my friend. We were like up at his cabin, and his dad was going to a casino, and he's just like, I need something to babysit my kids and his friends for 3 hours. So we're just going to drop them at Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and I'm going to go gamble. So that's when I saw it. And I don't really remember a single thing about it, even though I was like 17, so not like super young. But all I remembered was Apes Together Strong, because I think we just said that the rest of the
I'm surprised this whole time that you haven't watched, like, just been like, oh, I need to watch like War, you know?
I mean, it was just one. I think I had no interest in seeing it, not because I'm like against Apes movies, but just like they're like, we're going to see this movie. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, sure, I've never seen the first one before this, but I don't think it's really required viewing. But I think it's better to just go through the trilogy at once. But that's really all I had to say about it. I give it a 4-star. I give the original or the first one in the trilogy a 3-star, and I'm excited for War. I'll definitely be watching. I'll try to watch like as many Planet of the Apes movies as I can before the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes comes out, but I'll obviously still for sure see War before that. Because
I'm gonna check how many there is now, because I know there's quite a few.
Over under. I'm gonna say 17 total Apes movies. George, you saying the over?
I don't think there's that many.
Yeah, I'll take the. I don't know. There are
like over if you think
what are there like 39 Godzilla movies?
Godzilla's different than I think there's more actually, but Planet of the Apes there is. What the hell are these? What the fuck? So there's the 5 like original that are kind of all related to the first one. They came out in like 5 years, I think, for 5 and 5 years. And then there's these other ones. I don't actually know what these are. They have like 200 logs each on Letterboxd. I'm really confused.
These are the 8 Blood and Honey.
Farewell to the Planet of the Apes. Life, Liberty, and Pursuit on the Planet of the Apes.
Are they movies or short films?
No, they're 95 minutes, full feature length. I'm so confused. They've got 200 logs on it. I'm so confused.
I'm seeing 16.
Oh, what a line.
Yeah, go on the middle ones. That's what I'm seeing. Go on the like weird ones. They're just random. I've never seen these before.
Setting that betting line at 17 was a crazy pull.
Yeah.
16, so just under. But yeah, a ton of like bonus made films that don't really count. It's like counting Spider-Man Lotus as a Spider-Man movie.
Yeah, the Tim Burton one. I mean, you can't have to. It's still a Spider-Man film, you know.
Yeah.
The Tim Burton one, I think it was kind of like it's really odd. I don't think it's actually technically like related. Obviously, thematically it is, but it's kind of. If you look at the picture, like it's a really. I need to rewatch that.
Did he only have one, or did he get a couple?
He only had one.
Okay.
I think it did. If I remember correctly, I think it did really badly. I think it was like a big studio project, and I don't think they wanted to.
The one with Mark Wahlberg.
Yeah, it's got like a blue poster. It's got the 3 main people: Mark Wahlberg, Tim Roth, and Helena Bonham Carter. So like, and Paul Giamatti's in it. Michael Duncan's in it. It's got a really good cast. It's just not very good. It's a very odd film. Very, very odd. I actually watched it a few years ago.
It's got a 5.7 on IMDb, and that's without any review bombs. It's just a normal looking chart. So that's never
I don't think Tim Burton's style really works in that sphere. But the first 2, I think, Escape from the Planet of the Apes and the first one are pretty good. But like most people say that the first Planet of the Apes first one is amazing. Oh my god! Apologies for everyone watching. My things broke. The first Planet is amazing. Then all the sequels after that are just kind of like you just don't have to watch them. They're just like none of them are great. One of them might be like okay, but that's about it. It's interesting.
Yeah, well, Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, unless anyone has anything else to say, George gave it a 4.5, Cam 4.5, and then Seth and myself giving it a 4. And looking at every single mutual of mine, like it's a very, very well-liked movie. So.
Yeah, it's underrated as fuck, man. What do you mean?
True, 3.7, very low on Letterboxd.
Yeah.
But yeah, anyone else got anything else, or should we wrap here?
No, good, great film. But yeah, I think we should say to everyone, let's do when the new one comes out. When does the new one come out, Tyler?
Let me pull up our ReelTok schedule because I have all the release dates for things in there.
Yeah.
Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes releases on. Where are you in here?
I've got 24th of May.
Okay. Yep. Same week as Furiosa. So that's gonna be a.
Oh my god, that's gonna be a great episode.
Wow. And Chris Pratt's Garfield.
Okay, I don't care. I'm not watching that shit.
Yeah.
I think we should do something where we talk about, maybe the original and then War and Rise in the same one or whatever. That'd be cool.
For sure. We'll touch on it more. But thank you, Reese David, for the suggestion. And that's us signing off with ReelQuick episode 131, the last ever movie review ReelQuick on the YouTubes, on the public access. Next week, Terminator 2 Judgment Day is going to be a Patreon exclusive. So make sure you go to the Patreon down below, join our Discord, join all that good stuff, join at whatever tier, because no matter what tier you are, you're going to be getting to be able to see these ReelQuick reviews in the future. But with that, we will see you on Monday with ReelTok episode 72. And we're going to talk about Oscar nominations, reviewing Zone of Interest, some other fun stuff. So we will see you then. Peace.